Imagine someone you know, perhaps it's a friend, a colleague, or maybe even yourself. This person wakes up every morning to a mountain of responsibilities, a to-do list that stretches endlessly, and a mind that's constantly buzzing with the demands of daily life. From the moment they open their eyes, they're on the go checking emails, responding to messages, juggling work, family, and social obligations. They're always connected, always available, always doing something. But despite all this activity, they often feel like they're barely keeping their head above water. This is the reality for so many of us today. We're running from one task to the next, driven by a sense of urgency that never seems to let up. And yet, at the end of the day, we're left with a nagging feeling that, despite all the effort, something is missing. We've been busy, so incredibly busy. But have we really been productive? Have we been focusing on what truly matters? Now, I want you to take a moment to reflect. How often do we find ourselves chasing after things that don't really matter? We live in a world that constantly pulls our attention in 1,000 different directions. We're told that we need to do more, be more, achieve more. And in the process, we become so wrapped up in the hustle that we lose sight of the things that bring us true joy, true peace, and true fulfillment. Why is that? Why do we allow ourselves to get so caught up in the noise, the distractions, the pressures? The answer, my friends, lies in where we place our focus. You see, focus is not just about concentrating on a task at hand. It's about where we choose to direct our energy, our attention, and our lives. And here's the thing. Wherever your focus goes, your energy flows. If we spend our days fixated on things that don't serve our deepest needs or align with our highest values, we end up draining our energy, spreading ourselves thin, and losing touch with what really matters. But what if we could change that? What if we could train ourselves to focus only on what truly matters? Imagine the freedom, the peace, and the fulfillment that would come from living a life centered around your true priorities. Picture waking up every morning with a clear sense of purpose, knowing exactly what you need to do and where you need to invest your energy. No more being pulled in 1,000 different directions, no more feeling overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities. Just clarity, focus, and a deep, abiding sense of peace. Now, you might be wondering, how do we get there? How do we start to focus on what really matters when life is filled with so many demands and distractions? The first step is awareness. We need to become aware of the ways in which we're scattering our energy. How much of your time and attention is spent on things that don't bring you joy, that don't align with your values, that don't contribute to your long-term happiness? Be honest with yourself. Once you've identified these energy drains, it's time to let them go. I know this isn't easy. We've been conditioned to believe that we need to do it all, that saying no is a sign of weakness, that we're somehow failing if we're not constantly busy. But the truth is, saying no to what doesn't matter is the first step towards saying yes to what does. Imagine what your life could be like if you focused only on the things that truly matter to you. Think about the relationships you could deepen, the passions you could pursue, the peace you could cultivate. By focusing on what really matters, you give yourself permission to live fully, to live deeply, and to live authentically. So I ask you, are you ready to make that shift? Are you ready to let go of the distractions, the noise, the pressures that don't serve you? Are you ready to focus on what truly matters? Because if you are, you're on the verge of discovering a life that's not just busy, but deeply fulfilling. I want you to hold that vision in your mind. The vision of a life where your focus is clear, your energy is centered, and your heart is at peace. This is the life that awaits you when you choose to focus on what really matters. And it's a choice that's entirely within your reach. Now, let's talk about something that so many of us have come to believe is not just a skill, but a necessity in today's world. Multitasking. We've all heard it before. If you want to succeed, if you want to keep up with the demands of modern life, you've got to be able to do it all, and you've got to do it all at once. There's this idea that multitasking is the key to being more efficient, more productive, and ultimately more successful. But let's take a closer look at this belief. Is multitasking really the superpower we've been led to believe it is? Now, I want to ask you, are we really getting more done when we multitask, or are we just spreading ourselves too thin? Think about your own life. How often do you find yourself doing multiple things at once? And how does that really feel? Are you truly present in those moments? Or are you just trying to keep up, hoping that nothing slips through the cracks? The truth is, when we multitask, we're not really giving our full attention to anything. We're merely dividing our focus, and in doing so, we diminish our effectiveness. It's like trying to water a garden by spraying a little water on every plant, instead of focusing on the roots of the plants that need it most. The result is that nothing really flourishes. So what's the alternative? The alternative is to practice single-minded focus, to concentrate fully on one thing at a time. This means being fully present, giving your undivided attention to the task at hand, and doing it to the best of your ability. When you focus on one thing, you're not just getting it done. You're doing it well. You're bringing your full energy, your full creativity, and your full presence to that moment. And the impact of that is profound. When you commit to single-minded focus, something remarkable happens. You start to notice that you're actually accomplishing more, not less. Your work improves in quality, and you finish tasks faster because you're not constantly switching gears. You feel more in control, more connected to what you're doing, and less overwhelmed by the demands of life. And perhaps most importantly, you start to feel a sense of peace because you're no longer scattered. Take a moment right now to ask yourself a simple question. What is it that truly brings you joy, peace, and fulfillment? Think about it. What are those moments in your life when you feel completely at ease, when your heart feels light, and you find yourself smiling without even realizing it? These moments are clues, guiding you toward what really matters. So how do we begin to define what really matters? How do we separate the noise from the signal, the distractions from our true priorities? Let's start by considering a simple framework, a set of criteria that can help us determine what genuinely matters in our lives. First, ask yourself this. Does it bring long-term happiness? We often chase after things that provide a quick burst of pleasure, but how often do those things lead to lasting happiness? Think about the last time you indulged in something that felt good in the moment. A new gadget, a night out, a temporary success at work. It's not that these things are bad, but do they bring you joy that lasts, joy that sustains you? Or are they just fleeting moments that quickly fade away, leaving you wanting more? Now consider those moments that bring long-term happiness. Maybe it's the time you spend with loved ones, the work that aligns with your passions, or the quiet moments of reflection when you feel connected to something greater than yourself. These are the things that matter. They're not always flashy or immediate, but they bring a deep, enduring sense of fulfillment. Does it align with my values? This is crucial because our values are the foundation upon which we build our lives. When we live in alignment with our values, we experience a sense of integrity, a feeling that we are living authentic. On the other hand, when we stray from our values, we often feel uneasy, disconnected, and out of balance. For example, if one of your core values is family, then spending time with your loved ones is likely something that truly matters to you. If you value creativity, then engaging in activities that allow you to express yourself artistically is something that will bring you fulfillment. Identifying your values and ensuring that your actions align with them is a powerful way to focus on what really matters. But how do you identify your values? How do you know if something really matters to you? This requires self-reflection, a process of looking inward, asking yourself some important questions. What are the moments in your life that you're most proud of? What are the qualities in others that you most admire? When do you feel most alive, most connected to your true self? The answers to these questions can help you uncover your core values and guide you toward what truly matters. Let me share a story with you. A friend of mine was once caught in the whirlwind of a high-powered career. She was constantly traveling, working late nights, and climbing the corporate ladder. On the surface, it seemed like she had it all: success, recognition, a substantial income. But despite all this, she felt empty. There was a nagging feeling that something was missing, that she wasn't living the life she truly wanted. One day, during a rare moment of quiet, she asked herself what really brought her joy. The answer surprised her. It wasn't the accolades or the promotions. It was the time she spent with her family, the creative projects she dabbled in on weekends, and the sense of peace she found when she was outdoors, surrounded by nature. These were the things that mattered to her. But they had been pushed aside in her pursuit of success. That realization was a turning point. She began to realign her life with what truly mattered. She made changes, some small, some significant, that allowed her to focus more on her family, her creativity, and her connection to nature. And as she did, she found that the emptiness she had felt began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of fulfillment and joy. Her story isn't unique. We all have those things that bring us true happiness and align with our values, but sometimes we lose sight of them in the hustle and bustle of daily life. That's why it's so important to pause, reflect, and ask yourself, how can you tell if something really matters to you? Here's a simple way to start. Take a piece of paper and draw 3 columns. In the first column, write down the things that bring you immediate pleasure or satisfaction, those quick wins, the things that make you feel good in the moment. In the second column, list the things that bring you long-term happiness, the activities, relationships, and experiences that leave you feeling fulfilled long after they're over. And in the third column, write down your core values, the principles that guide your life and define who you are. Now take a step back and look at what you've written. Notice the patterns. Which activities align with your values and bring you long-term happiness? Which ones don't? This simple exercise can help you identify what truly matters to you and where you might be investing your time and energy in things that don't. Once you've identified what matters, the next step is to focus on these things with intention. But that's not always easy, is it? Life has a way of throwing distractions our way, pulling us away from what's important. But when you know what truly matters, you can make a conscious choice to prioritize those things, to give them the time and attention they deserve. I ask you, what is it that truly brings you joy, peace, and fulfillment? What aligns with your values and brings you lasting happiness? As you reflect on these questions, remember that the answers are already within you. It's just a matter of bringing them to the surface, of tuning out the noise and focusing on the things that make your heart sing. How do we identify what matters? The question becomes, how do we maintain our focus on it? How do we ensure that these priorities remain at the center of our lives, even in the face of distractions and demands? That's where our focus must go next as we continue this exploration of what it means to live a life that's truly aligned with what matters most. Why is it so difficult for us to say no? We live in a society that often equates saying yes with being helpful, agreeable, and likable. We worry that if we say no, we'll let someone down, or worse, that we'll be seen as selfish or uncooperative. But let me ask you this. How often do you say yes not because you really want to, but because you feel like you have to? And how does that make you feel afterward? The truth is, every time we say yes to something that doesn't align with our values or serve our highest purpose, we're actually saying no to something else, something that might be far more important to us. We're spreading ourselves too thin, diluting our energy, and making it harder to focus on what truly matters. And in the end, we're the ones who suffer, feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected from our true selves. But here's the good news side. Saying no is not about being selfish or uncaring. It's about setting healthy boundaries, protecting your focus, and ensuring that your time and energy are spent on the things that truly matter to you. Saying no is an act of empowerment. It's a way of taking control of your life and honoring your own needs and priorities. Let me share a story with you. A close friend of mine, a highly successful entrepreneur, was once a chronic yes person. She would say yes to every opportunity that came her way, every project, every meeting, every request for. She wanted to be helpful, to seize every opportunity, to be seen as someone who could handle it all. But over time, she started to notice that her energy was waning. She was constantly tired. Her work was suffering, and she wasn't spending as much time with her family as she wanted. She realized that by saying yes to everything, she was actually saying no to the things that truly mattered to her. So she made a change. She started saying no, Not to everything, but to the things that didn't align with her core values or contribute to her long-term goals. At first, it was difficult. She worried about disappointing others, about missing out on opportunities. But as she continued to practice saying no, she found that she was more focused, more energized, and more fulfilled. She was able to give her best to the things that truly mattered to her and the quality of her work, and her life improved as a result. So, how can we begin to say no more gracefully without guilt? First, it's important to remember that you have the right to say no. Your time and energy are precious, and it's okay to protect them. When you say no to something that doesn't serve your highest purpose, you're actually saying yes to the things that do. One strategy for saying no is to be clear and honest. You don't need to offer a lengthy explanation or apologize profusely. A simple, "I'm sorry, I can't commit to that right now," is often enough. If you feel comfortable, you can offer a brief reason, such as, "I'm focusing on a few key projects at the moment," or "I need to prioritize my time with my family." But remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation. Your priorities are valid, and it's okay to stand by them. Another approach is to offer an alternative. If you can't say yes to a request, but still want to be helpful, you might suggest someone else who could take on the task or propose a different time that works better for you. This way, you're still contributing, but in a way that respects your own boundaries. And if you're worried about how others will react, remember this. The people who truly care about you will understand and respect your decision. They'll appreciate your honesty and your commitment to your own well-being. And as you practice saying no, you'll find that it becomes easier over time. You'll start to feel more confident, more in control, and more aligned with your true self. Saying no is an act of self-care, a way of making space in your life for the things that truly matter. It's about clearing the clutter, both in your schedule and in your mind, so that you can focus on what's most important. And when you do that, you'll find that you have more energy, more clarity, and more fulfillment in everything you do. How often do you say yes out of obligation, fear, or guilt? And how would your life change if you started saying no to the things that don't serve your highest purpose? Imagine the freedom, the peace, and the focus you could create by simply saying no when it's necessary. Once we've cleared the clutter, once we've said no to the things that don't matter, we can more fully commit to what truly does. We can focus our energy, our time, and our hearts on the people, the passions, and the purposes that bring us the greatest joy and fulfillment. And that, my friends, is where the real magic happens. That's when we begin to live a life that's not just busy, but truly meaningful, truly aligned with who we are and what we're here to do. Now that we've talked about clearing the clutter and focusing on what truly matters, let's take a moment to think about how we nurture those things that are most important to us. It's one thing to identify what matters, our relationships, our passions, our health, but it's another to consistently invest our time and energy into nurturing those aspects of our lives. Because here's the truth. Anything that is important to us requires care, attention, and love to grow and thrive. Are you investing your time and energy into the things that will bring you lasting happiness? Take a moment to really consider this. Think about the relationships in your life, your family, your friends, your loved ones. Are you making time to connect with them, to share in each other's lives, to offer your support and love? Or are these relationships taking a backseat to the busyness of life? Consider your passions, the things that light you up, that make you feel alive and connected to something greater than yourself. Are you nurturing those passions, giving them the time and space they deserve? Or have they been pushed aside by the demands of your daily routine? And what about your health, your physical, mental, and emotional well-being? Are you taking care of yourself, listening to your body, and making choices that support your long-term health and happiness? Or are you running on empty, neglecting your own needs in the pursuit of getting more done? You see, nurturing what matters isn't just a nice idea. It's essential for a fulfilling life. When we invest in our relationships, we build bonds that sustain us through life's ups and downs. When we nurture our passions, we tap into a source of joy and creativity that enriches our lives. And when we care for our health, we give ourselves the energy and vitality we need to live fully and freely. Let me share a story with you. I once knew a man who was incredibly successful in his career. He worked long hours, traveled frequently, and was constantly on the go. On the surface, it seemed like he had everything: a high-powered job, financial security, and the respect of his peers. But over time, he began to feel a growing sense of emptiness. He was missing out on time with his family, he wasn't pursuing his passions, and his health was starting to suffer. He realized that he had been so focused on achieving success that he had neglected the things that truly mattered to him. One day, he made a decision. He started setting aside time each week to spend with his family, to reconnect with his wife and children, and to really be present in their lives. He began pursuing a passion he had long ignored, painting, something that brought him immense joy and peace. And he made his health a priority, exercising regularly and making healthier choices. The transformation was profound. He felt more connected, more fulfilled, and more at peace than he had in years. And it all came from nurturing the things that truly mattered. The key here is consistency and dedication. Nurturing what matters isn't a one-time effort. It's a daily practice. It's about making choices day after day that reflect your true priorities. It's about showing up for the people you love, for the passions that inspire you, and for yourself. It's about being intentional with your time and energy and committing to the things that bring you lasting happiness. But I also understand that life is busy and it's easy to get distracted or pulled away from what matters. We live in a world that's constantly demanding our attention: work, emails, social media, endless notifications. It's easy to lose focus, even when we have the best intentions. So how do we stay on track? How do we continue to nurture what matters when life is filled with distractions? This brings me to a very real challenge we all face: staying focused amid distractions. In today's world, it seems like there's always something vying for our attention. We're bombarded with information, with tasks, with demands from every direction. And it's easy to get swept up in the chaos, to let our focus slip away from what truly matters. Well, how can we resist the pull of distractions and stay true to what matters? How can we maintain our focus in a world that's constantly trying to pull us away from it? One of the most powerful tools we have is mindfulness, being present, being aware, and being intentional with our focus. Mindfulness doesn't mean sitting in silence all day or disconnecting from the world. It means being fully engaged in whatever you're doing, whether it's spending time with a loved one, working on a project, or simply enjoying a quiet moment. It means noticing when your mind starts to wander and gently bringing it back to the present moment. Another important strategy is setting clear goals. When you have a clear sense of what you want to achieve, it's easier to stay focused on what matters. Write down your goals, whether they're related to your relationships, your passions, or your health, and keep them somewhere visible. Remind yourself daily of what you're working toward, and let those goals guide your actions and decisions. Creating a supportive environment is also crucial. Surround yourself with people who understand your priorities and support your focus. This might mean having open conversations with loved ones about what matters to you, or finding a community of like-minded individuals who share your values. And it also means creating physical spaces that support your focus, whether it's a clutter-free workspace, a peaceful corner for reflection, or simply setting boundaries around your time and energy. But even with these strategies, it's important to regularly check in with yourself. Take time to reflect on where your focus is going and whether it's aligned with what truly matters to you. Ask yourself, am I spending my time and energy in ways that support my goals and values? If the answer is no, it's an opportunity to course correct, to bring your focus back to where it belongs. As we continue to focus on what matters, we begin to notice a shift within ourselves. We feel more grounded, more connected, and more at peace. We start to experience a deeper sense of fulfillment because we're living in alignment with our true priorities. And as we nurture what matters day by day, we create a life that's not just busy, but rich with meaning, purpose, and joy. When we choose to live a life focused on what truly matters, something profound begins to happen. It's as if the fog lifts and suddenly we can see with clarity. The noise, the distractions, the endless to-do lists, they start to fade into the background, and what remains are the things that bring us true joy, deep peace, and the genuine sense of purpose. This isn't just about managing time better or being more organized. It's about a fundamental shift in how we experience life itself. So, what changes can we expect when we align our lives with our true priorities? The first, and perhaps the most immediate, is a sense of peace. When we focus on what truly matters, we stop scattering our energy in 100 different directions. We're no longer pulled apart by competing demands or overwhelmed by tasks that don't really serve us. Instead, we begin to move through life with a calm, centered purpose. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing that we're dedicating our time and energy to the things that are most important to us. There's also a powerful sense of purpose that comes from living a focused life. When we're clear on what matters most, we begin to see how each day is an opportunity to live in alignment with our true priorities. Every action, every decision becomes a step toward the life we want to create. And with this sense of purpose comes a feeling of empowerment. We're no longer at the mercy of external demands or distractions. We're in control of our own lives, guided by what truly matters to us. Let me share with you the story of a woman who experienced this transformation firsthand. She had spent years climbing the corporate ladder, working long hours, and striving for success in her career. On paper, she had it all: prestige, financial security, the admiration of her peers. But despite her outward success, she felt a growing sense of emptiness. She was constantly stressed. Her relationships were strained, and she had lost touch with the things that once brought her joy. One day, she realized that she had been living her life according to someone else's definition of success. She had been chasing after goals that didn't align with her true priorities, and in doing so, she had lost sight of what really mattered to her. This realization was the catalyst for change. She began to reassess her life, to identify her core values, and to focus on the things that truly brought her fulfillment: her family, her creativity, her health. Over time, she made changes. She reduced her work hours, started spending more time with her children, and rekindled her love for painting, something she hadn't done in years. The transformation was remarkable. She felt a renewed sense of energy and joy. Her relationships deepened, and she discovered a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. By focusing on what truly mattered, she found a life that was not only successful by external standards, but deeply fulfilling on a personal level. Her story isn't unique. Throughout my life and career, I've seen countless examples of people who have transformed their lives by focusing on what matters most. Whether it's someone who has chosen to prioritize their health and well-being, someone who has rekindled a passion that was long forgotten, or someone who has strengthened their relationships, the results are always the same: a life that is richer, more meaningful, and more aligned with who they truly are. I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you fully committed to what matters most? How would it feel to wake up each day with clarity, peace, and a deep sense of purpose, knowing that your time and energy are invested in the things that truly fulfill you? This transformation is within your reach. It begins with a choice to focus, to prioritize, and to live in alignment with your true self. And once you make that choice, your life will never be the same. I want to invite you to consider something that can transform not just your day, but your entire life: the simplicity of focus. In a world that often celebrates complexity and busyness, it can seem counterintuitive to think that simplicity holds the key to a richer, more fulfilling life. But the truth is, the most profound changes often come from the simplest shifts in how we think, act. Think back to the moments in your life when you felt truly at peace, deeply connected, and genuinely happy. As seniors are, those moments weren't filled with distractions or a never-ending to-do list. They were simple, focused, and deeply meaningful. Maybe it was a quiet walk in nature, heartfelt conversation with a loved one, or losing yourself in a creative passion. These moments of simplicity are where we often find the greatest clarity, the deepest joy, and the most profound sense of. Are you ready to let go of what doesn't matter and fully commit to what does? This isn't just a rhetorical question. It's an invitation, a call to action that has the power to change your life. If there's one thing I hope you take away from our time together, it's the understanding that your focus is one of your most powerful tools, where you direct your attention, your energy, and your time shapes your reality. And when you choose to focus on what truly matters, everything else falls into place. But how do we begin? How do we make this shift from a life filled with distractions and noise to one centered around simplicity and focus? The first step is to take action, small, focused action that aligns with your true power. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. In fact, lasting change often begins with a single, intentional step. Maybe that step is setting aside time each day to connect with someone you love. Perhaps it's dedicating a few minutes each morning to quiet reflection, to reconnect with what's truly important to you. Or it could be something as simple as turning off your phone during dinner so you can be fully present with your family. These small actions, when done consistently, begin to create a ripple effect that transforms your life. As you take that first step, remember the key points we've explored together. We started by acknowledging the overwhelming demands of modern life, the constant pull of distractions that lead us away from what truly matters. We recognize the myth of multitasking, understanding that doing more doesn't necessarily mean achieving more. Instead, true productivity and fulfillment come from focusing on what truly counts. We then took a moment to define what really matters in our lives. Those relationships, passions, and values that bring us lasting happiness and deep fulfillment. We discussed the power of saying no to the things that don't serve our highest purpose, and the importance of nurturing the aspects of our lives that are most important to us. We acknowledge the challenges of staying focused in a world filled with distractions, but we also explored practical strategies to help us stay aligned with our true priorities. And finally, we reflected on the transformation that occurs when we live a life focused on what truly matters, a life filled with peace, purpose, and joy. Now it all comes back to you. Are you ready to embrace the simplicity of focus? Are you ready to let go of the things that don't serve you, the distractions that pull you away from your true self? Are you ready to commit fully and completely to the things that matter most? If the answer is yes, then I encourage you to take that small, focused step today. Choose one area of your life, whether it's a relationship, a passion, or your own well-being, and make a commitment to nurture it. Let your actions reflect your true priorities, and watch as the simplicity of focus begins to transform your life. As you do, remember that this isn't about perfection. It's not about getting everything right or eliminating every distraction. It's about making a conscious choice each day to focus on what truly matters. And it's about giving yourself grace, knowing that this is a lifelong practice, one that evolves and deepens over time. In closing, I want to leave you with a powerful thought. You have the power to create the life you want, simply by choosing where you place your focus. When you focus on what truly matters, you align your life with your deepest values, your highest purpose, and your greatest potential. You create a life that is not just busy, but meaningful, not just full, but fulfilling. So choose today to focus only on what truly matters. Take that small, focused step. Embrace the simplicity of a life well lived, a life where your energy is invested in the things that bring you joy, peace, and fulfillment. And as you do, watch your life transform in ways you never imagined. Because when you live with focus, you live with intention, with purpose, and with a deep sense of connection to the things that matter most.